get something to drink, please?
Of course.
Bara vatten, tack.
Good evening, Stockholm. Please welcome to the stage the woman who announces herself, Hazel Brugger. Stockholm, the city named after my favorite syndrome. I love it here. I had the idea to film this special in Stockholm a while ago, and all my German friends asked me, why do you want to do it in Stockholm? And I said, people are nice, they're lovely, they're intelligent, they're good looking. Because I met a lot of Swedish people when hosting the Eurovision Song Contest 2025. Yeah, I mean, you can be euphoric about it because you win it every other year. All the other countries are like, those Swedes with their fingernails. They're a problem. They're just too good. And now I've even started learning Swedish, which is difficult because I started with Duolingo, which is very passive-aggressive. It's like this owl, this animated owl. I don't know if you have the app, but it's annoying the hell out of me. It's this owl, and I'm never good enough. It's just like a mother-in-law as an owl. You only practiced Swedish for 20 minutes today. How about another 400 minutes? And not only is it really angry, it's also useless, like the sentences I'm learning. On week 2 of my Swedish course, I learned flodhästen behöver vatten, which means the hippopotamus is in need of water. Now, this is my 4th time to Stockholm. I have not encountered one thirsty hippopotamus, which is, I think, because of all the German tourists who explain to the zookeepers that flodhästen behöver vatten. Now I switched to learning Swedish with songs. I'm listening to a lot of Ted Gärdestad, which is difficult to use in my everyday life. I mean, he's great, but I just cannot relate to a 15-year-old boy in the 70s in Sweden. So all of my sentences have no everyday use. Om jag går ut och dansar på ett diskotek. I have not been at a discotheque in ever. I'm a 32-year-old tired mother. I don't go out in mean blåa jeans. Never happens. Yeah, I live in Germany. Originally I'm from Switzerland, but now I've lived in Germany for over 10 years. And my husband and I'm straight. I will get to that later. I know it's super confusing, but but it's also super true. And my husband and we used to live in Cologne, which is a big city in Germany. It has over 1 million people living there. And now we live in a small town in Hessen, which is the belly button of Germany. There's nothing. There's like one main station of Frankfurt there with a lot of fentanyl. And the rest is just nothing. It's just castles that used to be cool, but now not anymore. And we moved to a small town, which only has 1,000 inhabitants, because we have 2 kids. And I grew up in a small town in Switzerland. And I, at one point, looked at my kids and I was like, why should my kids have more opportunities than I did? And guess who has less opportunities than I did? The big one, she's 5 now, but she was 2.5 when we moved away, and she got really arrogant in the city. And one evening, I took her home and I said, I have to go cook dinner. And she looked at me and she said, why do you have to cook dinner? We can just go get some sushi. And I was like, what? You're 2. Why do you know what sushi is? I was 22 when I first heard about sushi. You don't even get recognized by the automatic door that leads into the sushi restaurant. To the automatic door that leads into the sushi restaurant, you are less than a big piece of garbage floating up towards the sensor. So now we live in a small town, which is very nice because I'm quite known in Germany. And in this town, people are a little perplexed when they see me at first, but then their reaction is very sweet. So they look at me and they're like, oh, it's her. And they just talk about me in front of me. And then they start taking pictures of me. Oh, it's a wild Hazel. Well, she's getting angry. Look at this, Klaus. She's getting very angry. Who is this Gudrun? You know, she's from this gay music contest. She hosted it, yes. But I don't know that. Yeah, you wouldn't like her anyways, because it's kind of very progressive what she's doing. Shut up! Stop talking about this poor woman with unwashed hair. And it's nice for the kids, obviously, to live in a small town. For us, not so much for my husband and I, but at least we get to travel every once in a while. We get to film a comedy special in Stockholm. That was a very abrupt ending to that applause. It took you a while to get into the idea of finding this good, and then you were like, but now it's over. Yeah. Who is taking care of her kids? That's very upsetting. Are they home alone? The Swedes are very open. I like that about the Swedes. First I thought, they must care so much about like equal rights, and women are so empowered here, and the kids go to daycare early, and daycare is like very respected throughout all of Europe. When you look at the Scandinavian schooling system, they're always really like champions of Europe. But then I got here and I realized the Swedes, they don't care a lot, they just don't give a shit. They don't care at all. They just don't care. They're like, what? An extra bathroom for a third gen? No, we don't care. There's a bowl with water and it's not frozen? Yeah, everybody can shit in it. I don't care. How do you say hello? Hey. How do you say bye? Just say hey again. How do you say please? Oh, we don't. We just say tack. We just say thank you. Just in advance. It's like, vatten, tack. Water, thanks. By the way, I forgot my water. My cameraman, Simon, can you go? I mean, you're already carrying a lot of equipment. No, the glass. We filmed this whole elaborate intro, and it was my only job to bring this so that continuity could... Oh, this is terrible. I had one job. Thank you. I guess not only flodhästen behöver vatten. I'm straight. Or as my lesbian fans say, I'm straight for now. I have a lot of lesbian fans, which is great. It's like the greatest fan base to have. If you ever get famous, I really recommend to you, get lesbian fans. They're the best. They're punctual, they're precise, and they're not annoyingly optimistic. Like you will never meet an annoyingly optimistic lesbian. You will read the news to her and she will be like, yeah, we're fucked. I don't care. But they're great. If the light breaks, then there's 12 lesbians on top of each other fixing it. They're very practical. I think my technician just like dimmed down the light to test my theory. I want to see those Swedish lesbians on top of one another. That sounds wonderful. Technician behöver lesbians. I asked my sister-in-law, I'm married to a man, and his name is Thomas. Of course, he's German. Of course, his name is Thomas. He looks like a potato that had a child with a cube, and he has a lot of siblings. We've been together for almost 14 years, so one day I will know all his siblings. And I asked one of his sisters, do you think I should talk about people thinking I'm a lesbian on stage? And she said, yeah. And I said, yeah, like, don't you want to seem more surprised that that is a topic that would occur in my show? And she said, no. And I said, why do you mean? And she said, well, because the whole family thought you were lesbian. For the first 3 years. And I said, why didn't you say anything? And she said, well, we were just happy that he found someone. And then I asked, but what is it about me that is screaming lesbian? Because I think, if anything, I don't have any sexual aura at all. Like, I'm like a lamp. You just put me somewhere, turn me on, and then I will do my thing, and then you turn me off again. And she said, it's the way you walk, Hazel. You have a very homosexual way of walking. And that is just not true. I will now present to you the way I walk when I don't feel like I'm being watched. When I am not in a rush and I don't feel like anybody's judging the way I walk, then I would walk like this. I think, if anything, this is a very practical way of walking. It's neither homosexual nor heterosexual. I think the only thing I am screaming while I'm walking like this is, don't try to push me. Because that is my biggest fear, is like being pushed over by someone. If I'm walking and then, bam, someone comes and pushes me over. And then it made me think, what is it about straight men being attracted to women who look like they could easily be pushed over? Because that's what that statement is implying. It's implying that to seem heterosexual as a woman, you cannot communicate that you do not want to be pushed. So you have to look very pushable for straight men to be attracted by you. And it's true, if you look at the media, if you look at advertisement, it's true that straight men are really turned on by women who look like they could be pushed over easily. Like, it's best if they wear high heels, so they have little contact with the ground. And then it's best to have very tight pants or like a short skirt so that movement is impaired. It's best if she doesn't have pockets, so she's forced to stuff all her belongings into a handbag, tipping off her balance slightly. I don't even own a handbag. I borrowed a handbag once. 2024, I was invited by the Pope, by Pope Francis, and he said 100 comedians should come to the Vatican and let's talk about humor. And I was like, oh, that sounds hilarious, thank you. Yes, please do explain to me what humor is, big father. And and then as the date came closer, I grew a little frightened, and my respect grew. And I thought, yeah, I should probably like dress up as a heterosexual woman when I go meet the Pope, because like, he's super homophobic. So it would be such a shame if he mistook me for a lesbian. That would be terrible if an 88-year-old virgin thought. Just imagine an 88-year-old male virgin who's probably secretly gay thinks I'm a lesbian, and it's not even true. That would be so embarrassing. So that was the day when I borrowed a handbag, and I was there with the Pope and 99 other comedians, and while he was talking, I was trying to figure out how to use a handbag. Because it occurred to me, just owning a handbag doesn't make you seem straight. It just makes you seem like you are borrowing a handbag. Because you can send micro signals of femininity when you hold it too deep, like down below, and then it looks heavy. It looks like you're working at a railway, connecting trains, which is very German. If you're holding it up too high, it looks like you're carrying something that smells. Oh, this is my Surströmming bag. No. If you wear it here around your elbow, then your hand gets all purple and weird. So I gave my handbag back, and I really like it when winter comes along. That's why I like the Nordic countries, because they're always so cold, so I can wear a jacket and shove everything into my pockets. I love that when I have everything I own in my jacket, and then I always wear it until the evening. I'm never a coward who just like ties it around her waist. The afternoon is so much hotter than I expected it to be. Ugh. Loser, just wear your jacket. I don't like the feeling when I tie my jacket around my waist and it feels like a tiny person is hugging me from behind, following me with all my stuff. Ah, I have all your belongings. Wait. Clong, clang, clong. I hope I didn't say something in Swedish accidentally then. Oh, klonge, klange. So anyways, I'm straight, and I'm really glad I'm straight. Like, not in that way. I mean, I wish I was a lesbian. I get really upset when people think I'm a lesbian, but I don't dare to say it out loud. I would be the most out lesbian. I would be so far out of the closet. The closet could not be seen behind me. I would be so annoying. Whenever I'm at some talk show and it's about taxes, I'd be like, oh, should we tax the rich? Well, me as a lesbian, I think there's some scissor motion between the rich and the poor. So it's ridiculous to think that I'm a lesbian, but I wouldn't admit to it. I'm glad that I'm not a lesbian, because I think sex with women is probably very difficult. It's difficult to please women. The female orgasm, oh, that's like a scavenger hunt through the psyche of someone unstable. You have to give her the feeling of being in charge. You have to make her feel like you understand her trauma, you see it, you respect it, but you don't take it too seriously, because you see within her the strength to cure her own psychological issues. For the male orgasm, I mean, it's usually enough to show him an AI-generated picture of Gandalf with tits. Thou shalt come! I'm 32 now, which is not old, but it's starting to be a little bit old. It's like not super young anymore. I have friends my age who go get Botoxed regularly. A friend of mine, she's a girl. I mean, she's a woman. She's not a girl anymore. I don't have girlfriends at this age. I have women friends. They're like super sad and getting into pottery. All my friends have super cracked skin on their hands. And she said to me one Thursday afternoon, we were eating ice cream. It was frozen yogurt because I'm rich. She asked me, Hazel, do you want to go get Botox? And I said, are you kidding? And she said, no, I'm completely serious. And I said, no, I'm serious. Like, are you kidding? Because I cannot tell from your facial expression whether you are being serious. And I ended up saying no, and I don't know why I said no, because I don't have anything against beauty treatments. I don't have anything against plastic surgery. I don't have anything against optimization of your looks. It's just that I know that my personality is that of one who doesn't know when to stop. Like, I would not stop with the Botox. In 2 weeks, I would have like an extra breast on my knee, just because I like it. And then in 6 months, I would look like one of those crazy people where nobody said stop. Those who always look like they're skeptically checking out the inside of a hairdryer.
Anybody here want to push me over? Do I hear steps? Ooh, I'm wobbly. Is this hairdryer on? I can hear it, but I can't feel it. I'm skeptical.
That's the first reason why I'm not getting anything done. The second reason is I don't really know where to start. Like, not that I'm saying, this is all a mess, or this is all so gorgeous, where would I even start? It's just, when I look at people, I never know what I find attractive about them that is appearance-based. I always see the whole person, and I don't mean to be bragging about, I see the inside. No, I have a problem. I don't see what's wrong with people's faces. When I like them, I find them hot, and when I don't like them, I find them ugly. Like my husband, I find him so beautiful. I love looking at him, but I wouldn't know what it is about him that I find attractive. So like, I love looking at his face, but hanging a picture of his face, why would I do that? And imagine I pay 50,000 euros to get my face done, and then somebody's attracted to something completely different. Twice a week at least, this is true, twice a week I get messages on Instagram of men asking me for photos of my feet. And at first I was like, oh yeah, of course. Let's... Poor Uwe, 73, doesn't know what a foot looks like. This is terrible. I mean, you would think this is basic knowledge, but I can help him out. And then Thomas, my husband, he saw me do that, and he was like, what are you doing? I said, Uwe 73, he doesn't know what a foot looks like, so I'm sending him a photo of my foot. And Thomas said, stop that immediately. That's something sexual. And I said, come on, Thomas, a foot, something sexual. Yeah, okay, we get it, men are pigs. But that's crossing a line, a foot, something sexual. A foot, that's like the only logical thing how you could end a leg. That's not sexual. That's actually how God created feet. God was almost ready. He was almost done. It was 20 minutes before God was done with his shift, and he was like, okay, we've got the head, we got the spine. Okay, we did the spine slightly longer than necessary so that when they fall on their backside, it's gonna hurt for 6 months. Perfect. All right, so the thighs and the butt, we do like bumps with the ladies. We do a little bit of a bumpy situation there, only with the ladies, but we do it for every lady. But at the same time, we put a thing inside of every lady's brain where she thinks she's the only one who has those bumps. Perfect. This should keep them busy. Then we can more easily suppress them. Except for the Nordic countries, where it's dark for 6 months a year. And they just don't seem to give a shit. Tuck, tuck. All right, the knee, then what would you... should we do the knee when they're standing? We do like a bit of extra skin, so when they're standing, it looks like the lips of a camel. Perfect. We do slightly drier skin on the knee than the rest of the body, so that when she decides to spontaneously go to a wedding in Sicily and she uses self-tanning lotion for the first time, the knee will be browner than the rest. Yes. This is perfect. This will look like the camel is in blackface. And then we go down. How do we end the leg? How do we... we shouldn't make this sexual. I mean, it's so far away from the pee-pee. We should just... We should go around the corner and make like a hand that's not very good at stuff. We do like an elongated hand with fingers that all have the same length. No, let's do the second finger a little bit longer for some people. This will freak them out during flip-flop season. Yeah, we'll do it very far away, so it's nothing sexual. And that's why I haven't gotten anything done yet. I like using my feet. I mean, it's hard to protect your feet from the outside. My feet are now on WikiFeet. That's a platform where it's true. You can look it up. You can make the mistakes I made. When Thomas said it's something sexual, I said, it's not sexual, Thomas. And he said, yeah, Google it. So I Googled foot, sexual. Now my algorithm is constantly suggesting products to me. It's feet, like puppets of feet with holes where only Jesus should have holes. Is that true that there is a priest up on the balcony? She should free me from my sins afterwards. Maybe she can wash my feet with holy water. Perhaps it's a lesbian priest. She could get freaky, get religiously freaky down here. I don't know if Sweden is ready. But does anybody have a question? You don't? Yes, please. Oh, you look so fancy, sir. That's crazy.
I'm Swedish.
You're Swedish, yes. I did. Wow, but you look at you. I mean, you are gorgeous. You look like if AI was impeccable and created a perfect Swede.
Gay.
Gay? Yeah, I know. That's why I'm hitting on you. Like, I know there's nothing happening. Whoop. Whew. So yes, please, gay Swedish man.
No, my question is, where did you get those pants?
Where did I get those pants? What a heterosexual question of you. I actually found them in my closet, you know. It's not always good to be out of the closet, you know. Sometimes you have to step back in and you find quite the treat. They're cool, right? This is not part of the program. I cannot imagine any audience outside of this theater being appreciative of this. What a great theater this is, by the way. Benny Andersson of ABBA, he's one of the Bs. I don't know the first or the second. Without him, it would just be ABBA, which would be kind of sad sounding. But he owns this. This is his. So it's very good that you bought a ticket to make him richer. This is very important. I think one ticket for my show gives him as much money as 12 streams of Chiquitita. So very good on you to do that. It's a nice hotel also. I'm staying at a very nice room. It's too big for me. I'm not used to this level of fancy. I'm exhausted from trying to find the hairdryer. It's such a big room. I don't know why hotel rooms always mess with us when they hide the hairdryer. It's always in some hidden drawer, or if you're very unlucky, it's in a velour sack hanging somewhere. So yeah, Benny Andersson hides his hairdryer underneath the minibar. Which is interesting. It's when you want to have a dry head, but also have a light buzz. I like that. Is there any other question? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Hello.
I'm one of the Eurovision viewers.
You're one of the Eurovision viewers, yes. One of the 200 million, may I say.
And you, together with Petra, has been the best of the presenters ever.
Me and Petra have been the best. You know that Petra is here tonight. Yeah, I don't know what she looks like, because she looks like creepy without makeup, so I don't want to ask her. I don't want to ask her up on stage, just in case she's not wearing makeup. When you see Petra without makeup, you're like, I know where her urge to be funny comes from. She is a shattered soul. But she's lovely.
I was basically on stage behind you during one of the semi-final.
Yeah, semi-final too. I did stage diving in a dress.
And you lived to tell?
I loved it. I loved, it. So I don't want this evening to only be about how I love gay people. But if you do stage diving in a tight dress as a woman, do it at Eurovision. It's the best audience. They're strong gay men. They're not interested in your butt, but also they're like really interested in the show going on. So they want to carry you somewhere else and they want to get rid of your ass very quickly. So it's moving fast. And they're super strong because they're very superficial people. So yeah, it's great. I enjoyed every second of it. Are you jealous that you didn't get to carry me? A little bit? I mean, we could change that. No.
I'm a straight guy, so...
You're a straight guy? Oh, that's kind of ruining this conversation for me. Okay. No, but I mean, good for you tapping into an exotic bubble like the Eurovision community. That's cool. It's great. Isn't it great? Just people having fun.
Absolutely.
Like an Albanian woman screaming her lungs out, and you're like, what is she saying? I'm so scared, but I will eat my cabbage. I have to continue with the program now. I don't have to do anything. I'm like my own boss. I can just do whatever I want. I have 2 kids. I have 2 daughters. They just turned 2 and 5. And they really love me. They love me to an amount that is almost creepy, I would say. It's okay because they're my kids. But if they weren't related to me, I would call the police. The level of obsession they have with me. A few weeks ago, I was on the toilet and I had both of them on my lap at the same time. That's how obsessed they are with me. My husband, Thomas, he's very involved as a father, but he's never had a child on his lap on the toilet. Not even our own. So sometimes he's gone for weeks. He's in the bathroom, we're looking for him. And then at the bottom of the door, there's a small piece of paper being slipped through. Can you bring me my phone charger? I can't feel my legs. But my kids love me, and it's always cute. I have this tactic now, because I do it quite often, that I have them both on my lap. And the 2-year-old, she's on the left leg, because I'm left-handed, so she needs a bit more support, and I can give that to her. And the 5-year-old, she's already quite grown up, so she can help me. She can be of assistance. And I don't have any free hands left, and our toilet paper roll is on the right side, so this works out great. The 5-year-old, I don't want to say she's annoying, but sometimes when both kids are sleeping, I just look at speeches of Donald J. Trump. Just look up Trump's speeches. I'm not a huge fan of his, but I just need something rational at the end of the something that gives me a contrast to what my 5-year-old is saying. Because it doesn't matter what you think of Donald Trump. As I mentioned, I'm not a huge fan, but Donald Trump has never, at the end of a speech, dropped down to the floor, punched the ground with his fists, and yelled, "But I want to take a bath with my battery!" And I really respect that in him. Our 5-year-old, she always says out loud what she thinks. When we had the little sister, when we first had the new baby, we went to a supermarket. And the first thing my then almost 3-year-old daughter said was, she went out to the lady at the checkout and she said, "My sister is a baby. She is so small. When you press into her skull from the top, she dies." Beep. 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 Do you collect points? So anyways, I'm sitting there and she says everything she thinks out loud. She's like a commentator to a sports that nobody wants to see.
Mama, yes. If my sister falls down from this height, she will die.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yes.
Mama,
Yes.
when humans eat poop, they get a bellyache.
Yeah, that's. I read that in a book. Yeah, you're right.
Mama, that's weird because poop comes from the belly. Mama, Louis at kindergarten ate poop 2 weeks ago, and he hasn't come back since.
Louis is the teacher.
Mama. Are you pooping right now? Because you stop breathing every once in a while.
And as strenuous and as tiring this time is, I know for a fact that when I look back at this time, at these years in my life, this will be what I am referring to as the good old days. This is it right now. Like, this is the prime of my life. I'm so tired every evening. I cannot wait. When it's 5 p.m., I'm like, oh God, when is it 7:30? When can they finally be put down temporarily into their bed? Because when you talk to older people, when you talk to people who have kids that have already left the house, kids that are grown-ups, and you ask them, what was the best years of your lives? They always say, when my kids were little, that was the best time of my life. And I always want to answer, what? It gets worse! But it does get worse. It gets less affectionate. The bonding gets less important, and the physical contact, it diminishes. It just feels a little colder, and you feel less important to them. You still love them, of course. I mean, I love my mother. I'm 32 now. I love my mother, but it's different. I cannot imagine anything worse than sitting on Suzanne's lap while she's taking a shit. How would that even look? You have Suzanne on the toilet, then there's me on her lap, then there's a 2-year-old, then there's a 5-year-old.
We are a multi-generational toilet!
P. Diddy. There's something missing, I don't know, but I think we should just get on with it. One of my brothers is a big fan of P. Diddy's. And then when all the allegations came out and when all the things went public that P. Diddy very likely did, my brother called me and he said, Hazel, is it okay to still listen to P. Diddy? Hazel, what's your opinion on that? You are more or less part of pop culture, so what would you say? Is it still okay to listen to P. Diddy if, while I'm doing so, I'm not thinking of the negative things he's done, but much more so I'm using the power of the art of music to project myself into a time where my life was much less complicated. So when I was 16 years old, and that's the only statement I want to make when listening to P. Diddy. It's just that I want to have a personal journey throughout my existence. Do you think, under these circumstances, it's still okay to listen to P. Diddy? Now, of course, that's not the exact wording my brother used, because he still lives in the village we grew up in. I think his exact words were, "I'm a P. Diddy lover." And I said, first of all, I think you're misunderstanding the purpose of the question when you are outsourcing a personal philosophical dilemma to a relative. Because the question on whether you can still listen to P. Diddy, I mean, basically it's just the question of whether you can separate the art from the artist. And that question is a very personal one, because it implies that when consuming art, you respect that you also consume the culture behind the art, and you then become, in a way, part of the artwork, because that's the beauty of art in a free world. You can send art out into the world, and then by this art being consumed, it keeps on living and it keeps on growing and it keeps on telling the story of the human nature. And just asking someone else on whether you can feel good while doing something that they don't know how you feel about it in your inner core, that's showing me that you don't understand the question. Having said all that, I have never listened to P. Diddy, and I'm sure as hell not going to start now. Now, obviously, that's not exactly the words I used to explain this to my brother, because, as I mentioned, my brother still lives in the small village he grew up in. I think my exact words were, but I do think it's an interesting question whether you can separate the art from the artist. And I think when two things are true at the same time, then you can think about starting to separate the art from the artist. The first thing is the art that the person is famous for cannot stand in any relation to the bad things the person is infamous for. So when R. Kelly produces a song that's called Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, and while that song is being played, girls under the age of 18 are being recruited from the audience to then be sexually abused, that's non-negotiable. We cannot do that. That's never okay. So that's the first thing that has to be true. It cannot stand in any relation to the bad things. The positive cannot be related to the negative. And the second thing is the art that the person is known for has to be so good. It has to be of such importance and quality that we, as a people, say we cannot live in a world without this. Our world would be a much worse place if we didn't have this piece of human culture. So, for instance, the inventor of the shoelace. I don't know anything about him. I don't want to hear anything about the inventor of the shoelace. I am not living in a world of Velcro. I am not switching to a world without shoelaces. I'm not being invited to a dinner party in Germany where everybody takes off their shoes before stepping into an apartment, and then I hear, oh, so schön habt ihr es hier. Ich habe Kartoffelsalat dabei. I'm not doing that. So that's the second thing. It has to be true. But I don't know where the lines are. So, for instance, if I'm invited to a garden party, I'm invited to a garden party at my small village in Hessen, Germany, and there's a quiche. There's a quiche at the buffet. I'm like, wow, Beate. That's my neighbor. Beate, who made this quiche? This quiche is culinary poetry. Look at it. It's amazing. It's like a mandala. Who arranged this zucchini in such a circular way? This is incredible. Look at it. Look. Oh, wow. Somebody really took care of all the ingredients. They salted them individually. They cut them accordingly. They cut them referring to how the texture of the vegetable changes when you cook it for the same amount of time at the same temperature. Like, for instance, a raw carrot is much harder than a cooked carrot, but like a raw zucchini is same as a cooked. You get the process of cooking. And then you take a piece and you think, well, if the crust is good also, I'm gonna lose my mind. This is the perfect quiche. And you take a bite and you're like, God, Beate. This is amazing. Beate, this quiche is a dream. Beate, tell me, who made this quiche? And Beate says, Adolf Hitler. Can I then, knowing that Adolf Hitler, who did a lot of bad things, but who is already dead and cannot hear me talk words of praise about his vegetarian quiche, can I then take another bite of that Hitler quiche? Can I, knowing that Adolf Hitler has been dead for a while, and before he died, he took time out of his busy schedule, time he couldn't invest into doing other things, most likely slightly more negative things than preparing a vegetarian quiche. Knowing that Adolf Hitler is dead, it took him at least 75 minutes to prepare this quiche that then was frozen and for some odd reason is in my neighbor Beate's freezer. And for some other strange reason, in the week where Hazel Brugger moves to her street, she decides, let's get out the Hitler quiche. Knowing all of that, can I still eat the Hitler quiche? I don't know. I think that we should start talking about separating the art from the artist also when nothing bad is happening or nothing bad has happened. Because I think you can also separate the art from the artist in a positive way. Like, for instance, tonight, you saw me, you're like, oh, she seems not only grounded, but like she's on the ground. She's lying on the ground. She seems like a nice person. You don't know that. You don't know how I am. When my second daughter was half a year old, I traveled on a train with her. I traveled from Frankfurt to Berlin. That's about from Lund to Stockholm, just to give you an idea. But we don't go past Småland, so it's less cringe. I don't know anything. I just thought I'd drop some stuff. At least it's not Skåne, am I right? Bra, bra, bra. But when I traveled with my daughter on a train, a woman came up to me and she had a 2.5-year-old daughter and she held her by her hand and she said, oh, you're Hazel Brugger. And I said, yes. And she said, I know you from television. And I said, oh, cool. And she said, can you please take care of my child while I use the bathroom? And I'm a comedian, I'm a people pleaser by trade. So of course I said yes. And then I waited there with my daughter on my arm and Emilia in my hand, and I said, Emilia, do you think it's cool to listen to P. Diddy? Emilia didn't answer. She was shy or uninformed. And then, to break the ice and make it less awkward, I said, well, Emilia, no matter your answer, I can assure you P. Diddy doesn't get asked by strangers on a train whether he can look after their children while they use the bathroom. Once again, Emilia didn't show any reaction. I think she wasn't the brightest. And then I asked her, do you think I could eat a slice of a quiche if it was baked by Adolf Hitler? And she didn't answer. And I still haven't found an answer on whether you can truly separate or whether you even should separate the art from the artist. All I know is that when you see me on a train and I'm already struggling with my own baby, don't ask me if I want to take care of your child while you use the bathroom. Do it like any great parent would do. Just shove your child onto your lap while you take a shit. Thank you, Stockholm. Thank you so much, Stockholm. Thank you for a wonderful evening.
Wanna wrestle in my jungle? I'll take you on. Stampede you won't and send you home. You wanna rumble in space? I put my laser on stun. And on the North Pole, I'll ice you, son. You wanna thriller in Manila? You'll be killer to stun. Wanna taste the vanilla? Better watch your tongue. Cause I'll hammer your toe like a pediatrician. So you can have like I'm a magician. Take it down like I'm a demolition. Count you out like a mathematician. I'm so very hot that when I rob your mansion, you ain't call the cops, you call the fire station.
Petra, where are you? Are you still here?
No, I'm up here.
Oh, you're up there! You're in the first row of the balcony!
No makeup, so I didn't.
You have no makeup. Okay, then yeah. I mean, there's limits even to AI. So I love Petra. She's the reason why. She's actually the reason why I love Sweden, because she's so unconventional. And I thought, how is this country existing if everybody is like Petra Mede? This is crazy. Can I tell the story of when you picked Sandra and I up at the station, or is it too embarrassing?
Well, it's too embarrassing. But
Okay then.
No.
No, it's comedy. So Sandra Studer, who hosted both semifinals and the grand final of Eurovision 2025 with me, she actually came with me when I did my first show in Stockholm in August of last year. And then Petra said, yes, I will pick you up at the station. Because we did a show in Lund, and then we came to Stockholm. And then she said, I will pick you up. And I was like, wow, she's like a normal person. This is incredible. They're big. They're the queen of everything. Petra is picking us up at the station. And then we got out of the elevator at the Centralstation. I don't know how to say that. And Petra is there at the station with these two very tall, incredibly hot-looking 19-year-old women. And she's touching her shoulders. And then I hear her say from the distance, "You girls are safe with me now." And I'm like, what is this predatory behavior? This is crazy. This is not like the Petra I imagined. And then the two girls turned out to be German. And Petra thought it was Sandra and I. And of course they recognized her, because Petra is an absolute legend throughout all of Europe. And they looked at her and they were like, what the fuck is happening? And then I'm coming and they look at me and I'm like, what? And she's here also? This is sick and I love it. Yeah, so that night, Petra and I defrosted some quiche. It was nice.